Two enormous talking points from this game. Was this a penalty? We're going to talk about that, of course. 98 minutes and 36 seconds. Two screenshots for this one because, yeah, I've got something to say about that one, so stick around. And, of course, the second talking point, KDB very annoyed. We're going to explain why Liverpool were able to make Man City look pretty ordinary in this game with a lineup that was not impressive. And we're going to explain why KDB was so annoyed at getting taken off, but at the same time, why it was the right decision from Pep Guardiola. The first place that I think we need to start is, obviously it was 1-1, so many chances, cracking game. I love Liverpool versus Man City games. They are always amazing. And Man City were knackered by the end of it. Absolutely knackered by the end of it. And it's so great to see a team able to sort of displace this Man City team in terms of making them run and work to a level that they just very rarely do. And when you look at the team here, there's no right. Like, I put a tweet out and Stephen Tries had a go at me, told me to shut up. And I understand why. Because I said that's not the team you want to put out for a game like this. And especially against a Man City team that went to win the game. But there are players in this team that would, and in a game like this, you don't want them starting. Now, understand what I'm saying when I say that. These players who were all sublime, all of them were brilliant in such a huge game against a team with such quality. But, Trent comes in, and Konate should be playing, and Alisson's ideally playing, and Salah's, of course, playing. So none of these guys are players that you want to be starting in this game. And I thought that they were going to struggle. I really did. In the first 10 minutes of the game, they really, really did. Against the Man City side, that I saw the huddle before. I don't know if you saw it as well. They said, Rodri said, "We're here to win, guys." And I wonder if that was kind of part of the mistake. Now, the first 10 minutes, it went completely to plan. I think Liverpool, they were sort of finding the right attitude, if that makes sense. I think at Anfield and with Klopp, there's a certain way of playing, and they were nervous, they were tentative, and they weren't able to find the players that they needed to find. But I think quite quickly they realised that in terms of the press from Man City, it was a little bit weak. Now, Man City initially were popping Liverpool to death, and it was hurting them massively. You had Foden playing out wide here, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to take that off him. And Alvarez, at times coming wide, but we'll talk about Alvarez in a second. And in that first 10 minutes, there was a real struggle here because they were able to break through the press. And when they did that, Endo found himself struggling there. And there was obviously a very clear overload against this team. But Liverpool did something really brilliantly when they sort of found their feet. We'll talk about the goals, but I thought the way that they played defensively, and again, initially, you think that with this 4 here against this 3, you think that Liverpool are going to struggle because, Mac Allister, overall, you don't think of him as being too athletic. We'll talk about Mac Allister, by the way. Mac Allister has to be my man of the match, him or Van Dijk, I think. I think Diaz obviously ran into the ground, and I think we found the kryptonite to Walker a little bit, but it was a tactical problem as well. But overall, initially, that you've got 4 against 3 in that midfield, and you're thinking, how are they going to be able to deal with this? What they did brilliantly was they brought Elliott in a little bit narrower, and Diaz as well, but they got their lines completely right. Let me show you exactly what I mean, because if we go to the screenshots on the beloved JLA tactics board, you can see a very angry Kevin De Bruyne. But this is the setup after 11 minutes, and this is when they started to kind of find their feet, Liverpool. And the important thing here is the inability to get the ball to Kevin De Bruyne. And we might have to come back to this freeze frame because Kevin De Bruyne was very, very annoyed. But he's actually a free man, and he was free throughout the game. Constantly free. But Man City weren't able to get the ball to him. And the reason for that was because of the defensive shape. Now, Harvey Elliott was looking to get to Ake. More on that later. But he was staying in line with him, and he was trying to stop that pass through to Alvarez or Silva when they were getting those pockets here and here. I'll show you another screenshot on that in a second. But Harvey Elliott working really hard. Diaz in a really good line as well. But importantly, the pass through to De Bruyne, never on. And Darwin Núñez looking to stop it as well. Those passes into Rodri, but they might have little moments where they're able to bounce it back, or you might be able to play a long pass all the way over to Foden, but Gomez could get over there. But the thing for De Bruyne in terms of his frustration, I think, is that when he's here, he knows that Gomez's man is Foden. He knows that Van Dijk can't come to him. His man, if anyone, is Szoboszlai. So the way that Liverpool played was kind of brave, but their best way of stopping them. And initially they were able to get through that, but after a while they weren't. If we move it along, we see the goal. Now the goal was a bit of clever play from a set piece from Nathan Ake. I think this is something that I think was just becoming more and more prevalent. There's little looks to the guys with the set pieces, and it was a good. It was a bit of a mismatch, wasn't it, in terms of McAllister and Ake, and they weren't able to deal with it at all. They're expecting a proper ball into the box. Clever play from Man City. I thought there was a little bit of like too much hyperbole in terms of the pass. Like it's a straight pass. You know, De Bruyne, what you're saying, De Bruyne's not got that in his locker. I thought that was a little bit weird, but. Good goal, smart goal from Man City. And that's the thing with Man City is they do have so much quality and size in that box as well, which you can see by the players that are in there. If we move it along one, the game continues, it progresses, and I want to focus on one man now, McAllister. The guy was, can I just have a run up for this? The guy was so good today. He's such a little terrier. He's so brilliant defensively, affecting the game, playing positively, making loads of challenges. I'm sure we can go to his stats in a second. But he works so hard and he stopped that pass, exactly what I'm talking about. That pass wasn't on. Now, Alvarez, for me, I thought was a mistake. I thought they got that wrong. And once you could see the setup here, it felt like it was a game for Doku. Get Doku on earlier. Or for me, I would have liked to see Foden over on that left-hand side and see what Conor Bradley would have done. It would have maybe moved Liverpool on a little bit quicker. And we'll come to their substitutions in a second. But again, that setup was really, really good. Really, really good. And again, exactly what we were talking about before. Completely in line. Where's Walker? Walker's exactly there. Perfectly in line. But there is one man who is free in all of this, of course, again, De Bruyne, but they weren't able to get the ball to him time and again. So taking him off was actually quite understandable in my opinion. Because as the game progressed, Liverpool really, they owned the centre of the pitch. They got at them, they won the ball, they made them play quickly, and they got the ball back. For them to insert this kind of average position, this is what normally Liverpool do. They're playing Man City. Most teams that play Man City, go back and watch my match reaction or tactical analysis of the Man City-Man United game. Varane was on the penalty spot. So for them to play this way, massively brave, but energy was a big part of it. And Man City didn't really have that same energy. You had a lot of players here, but as you can see, if you don't get the ball to them, you can then you win the ball back, the opposition is in trouble. And another thing I think that's really important here, and we can go back to that initial screenshot, is having the ball, not having the ball. And that back three, if you think about it, and Stone's a great example here. Like in a game that they're controlling, it's all good. But that's a normal back four. But without him, if you imagine he's not there, as a back three, there are massive, massive gaps there in an offensive transition. And Liverpool did brilliantly. But as I say, McAllister, absolute joke. Look at the work rate. Look at the work rate from him. Fucking unreal, man. So good. Stopping, winning challenges. Absolutely brilliant, and I'm sure if I go to the defensive stats, there's probably two players in particular that were awesome. Yep. Or Nathan Ake as well, in terms of defensive actions, having to deal with that right-hand side, did very, very well. But Virgil van Dijk, I thought, was absolutely amazing in terms of tackles. Alexis McAllister with the most tackles in the game, alongside Conor Bradley. And actually, it's Conor Bradley. And I thought I thought Nathan Ake overall did very well for the team here. And I've got to say, Virgil van Dijk on a mission. Imperious. Superb. Makes the players around him better as well. And in terms of defending in that way, defending in that manner, as we've just seen here in terms of those average positions, when it's not all tight and compact, that's I think where you can hurt Van Dijk, and you saw that in the first game against Man City. But in this one, absolutely superb when he has to defend like this. And you saw it when he's staring out Haaland, or any of those moments when there's a lot of space for him to deal with. He's just so good, so smart, and he's absolutely killing it right now. The goal for Liverpool, absolutely brilliant from them. And we were saying during the game, I was chatting with Kai, my producer, about this, and I was thinking, is Ake the trigger? I was thinking, who's the person that they do go and press to? And it came to be that possibly it was. If you think about the goal itself, comes from Conor Bradley instead of Harvey Elliott. That was the one thing I was thinking with Elliott. Has he got that real tenacity to get at Ake and really, really, really kind of rush him and hurt him? Conor Bradley has that little bit more energy, and that's where the goal comes from. Of course, this is the moment here where Ake plays that short pass, and Nunes who I thought was poor overall. I thought he had one little great moment where he was able to get the ball and give it back to Diaz, but otherwise didn't win too many aerial duels, was a little bit isolated up there, ran his heart out as he always does. And look, he won a penalty with with his energy. But overall, I thought he struggled in the game, personally, if I'm honest. But Liverpool, they worked so hard, and City really struggled. And by 67 minutes, they were starting to not crumble, but... And I don't want to say quit, because they didn't. They hung in there, and that's what champions do, and this is a group of champions. But this is a great example of Robertson making a run, and the substitutions I thought were great. Robertson being able to come on, it took Gomez, put him over to the right-hand side, and it made a massive difference in the second half. And Foden, a little bit knackered, a little bit kind of on edge maybe the crowd draining this Man City team a little bit. It's a reality. It's a real thing. I watched a Redmen podcast and they were saying after 70 minutes, are they going to be able to keep going? Will KDB be able to keep going? No. Well, I mean, they hung on, didn't they? Another great example. So he's miles off sticking with Robertson there. And in terms of space on the other side, and the reason why Ake had to make so many tackles in this game was that movement of bringing Gomez over to this right-hand side. It meant that Salah, when he came on, who I thought was really poor actually as well, he looked incredibly rusty, it meant that he had so much space on that right-hand side a lot of the time. And yeah, as I say, they really struggled. Diaz had so many chances. And if you think back to that first screenshot and how set they were, it was obviously down the other end, but it was boom, boom, boom. And that's fine, but what that leaves is gaps. And if we take that all away and think about those two centre-backs again, three at the back line, Rodri, this is Stones on this occasion, sorry. I think Akanji's over here, actually, at this point. And Ake over there. Just so much space. So, on transition, you can get at Man City because you've got a team that is, that's the problem with the 3-2-5. Where Stones has got you've got a lot of players going from one position to another position, and it's difficult, and it gives teams an opportunity to change it. The change from Man City was the right one with KDB, and I'll show you exactly why that was. Because KDB couldn't get on the ball in this game, they needed to find, and they were getting bypassed. They were pressing high, they were getting at the opposition. Rodri and Stones were kind of all at sea. You've got Stones having to sort of step back in here at different times, and they were kind of totally overloading, and so then they have to play, if we give them the ball, they have to play sort of longer passes, and at no point were they able to get the ball to De Bruyne. So the obvious choice and the smart choice, and I thought they could have made it quicker for me, was to get Foden in the game, and something to keep an eye on. Like, are there going to be games where De Bruyne has not got that energy like he usually has? And do you need someone like Foden in a more central area? Because that's what happened. Foden came into a central area, De Bruyne came off, Doku came on, Alvarez came off, Kovacic came on. And it allowed them to just play it all a little bit shorter, maybe get another player in and play those little L's to sort of get around. By L, I mean boom, boom. That's obviously a bad example, but you get what I'm saying. But it allowed Foden to get a little bit closer to Haaland. And I think that was interesting. Look, like Modric, as you get older, I mean, Modric is a bad example because he's so awesome, but as players get older, they still have influence, but there might be moments where you have to take them off. And because of the way that Liverpool worked, I thought it was a smart move, and probably part of the reason why they were then able to get a little bit of control and had a couple of moments. I do think Pep made a mistake in not starting Alvarez, but not taking him off a little bit sooner. And as I said, in terms of that back line, when you've got those guys on their way back, like going straight back is one thing, like Van Dijk and Kwanzaa do in terms of their two centre-backs. When you've got Walker coming in and out, there are always going to be those gaps knocking around here and here. And in particular, the outrageous energy from Diaz, time and again, it was wild. Just a shame he couldn't finish. And here's another example of exactly what I'm saying as the game progresses. Obviously, it's in the 90th minute, but Kyle Walker, Akanji, Stones, Ake, stretched all over the place. They were knackered. They were absolutely shattered, Man City, but they hung in there. But should it have been so different? Let's talk about this. Last minute, of course, McAllister. So the reason I've got two screenshots here is one looks like Doku's got the ball, doesn't it? This one. This one is after McAllister touches the ball, once he makes contact with the ball. So I don't think, and I've watched this back time and again. I think McAllister gets there first, personally. What is a bit interesting is that handball? Is that handball from McAllister? Probably not. Is he looking? Is it deliberate handball? I don't know what the rules are with the handball, but like if it's there on his arm, is that okay? I'm sure you guys will let me know. For me, that's a penalty. That is a high foot. We can see your stud. He's not reaching out, and McAllister's sort of, ducking down, and it's one of those ones that look worse. I think he's got him there. But if the ref doesn't give it, is it clear and obvious? I wouldn't go that far. And therefore, let's get rid of VAR. I think, for me, I would have given it as a penalty. And when it went to VAR, I thought it was going to be a penalty, but they didn't give it as a penalty. So I put it to you, the people. Was it or wasn't it?